keep the law. But I beg to differ. His burden's light if you obedient. Just read the scripture. You can do all things through the Messiah with a faith that moves mountains. But you rather be a sinner. You want salvation by being wicked, you lukewarm. Better go and kill your flesh, take on a new form. Living set apart is lit.
Shalom, everybody. Shalom, shalom. Welcome, welcome. It's your boy Prophet with another message. A lot of this I've had for a good minute. Some information I got from a very, very, very righteous brother on my whole deer. And then some of this information has just been accumulated over the year from some of my studies. So as you can see, the Torah before Moses is the topic. Was there the Torah before Moses? Was there not? Some say that the Torah began with Moses when the Most High gave it to him in the form of the 10 Commandments on the tablets, and then later the remainder of the Torah throughout the Old Testament. Some people say that the Torah existed beforehand, and it spans between everybody from Christians to Hebrew Israelites to Old Testament only to you name it. So today we're going to get into it, and I'm going to read. Hopefully you guys can see the screen here. I'll try to make it as big as possible to help you guys read it, and I'll be reading from it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it, okay? And may the Most High be praised in all things and glorified in all things. So I said I received a good amount of this breakdown from an Ak who only wishes to glorify the Most High and chooses to remain anonymous. I have since then added this breakdown as more information has been revealed to me through my studies. And it's interesting that I had the word glorify here. I just learned today, family. I just learned today that this word that has etymology and it has something to do with a Greek goddess. So I got to look more into it as I do have to look into some other words as well. But this was already done. So let's continue. There are some that believe that Moses created the Torah from divine instruction from the Most High. There are others who believe that there was Torah before the time of Moses, whether it be oral or written, but there has been a lack of biblical or historical evidence to support that the Torah was around before the time of Moses. But there are a few accounts in the book of Genesis that gives us insight into this matter. I am not here to persuade you to take my position on the matter. Simply examine the information I present and research it for yourself to come to your own conclusion. But it is my belief that there was Torah before Moses, and that Moses was the one who officially wrote it all down and gave it structure for Israel to keep moving forward. But what was written, the people already knew. Let us begin. All right. So originally, like I said, some of this information I got from an Ak and fact checked, and he gave commentary and the original information that he gave me. So I kept that original commentary, and then I added some commentary as well. So my commentary is going to be in the parentheses, and his commentary is going to be in between the stars. All right. So we're going to start with sin. Sin. Genesis chapter 3, verses 2 through 6. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Most High Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath Ahijah said, Ye shall eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Ahijah has said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For Ahijah doth know that in every day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened. That in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as mighty ones. I got that from my sister. Knowing good and evil. All right. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. All right, this right here was considered the original sin. Let us confirm it in the scriptures. Go to Romans chapter 5 and verse 12. Wherefore, as by one man sin entered the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for all have sinned, right? So it's saying, as by one man sin entered into the world, that one man that is referring to is Adam, okay? It's referring to Adam. This verse is speaking about Adam in the garden. Now let's look at what the definition of sin is, because this is important. If we're gonna claim something, we have to confirm it with the scriptures, right? So 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4, it says, whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. So in order to even have sin at all, you need to have the law, i.e., or AKA, also known as the Torah, all right? So we see the law being in effect even all the way in the beginning when Adam and Eve sinned against the Most High by eating of the fruit of the tree. We can confirm by the scripture that the definition of sin is the transgression of the law. Is this the physical instruction written down by Moses during the Exodus, or is the law any instruction given by the Most High? Let me now take a moment to confirm this account in the writings of the book of Adam and Eve. Now, before I read this in the book of Adam and Eve, you may or may not attest this as scripture. You may or may not look at this book as a valid book, or a book that should be included within the canonical writings. I'm not here to push the book or change your personal perspective. I just know my studies is not limited to the 66. I read the 66, but I also read the Apocrypha. I also read the book of Enoch. I also read Jasher Jubilees. I also read the books of Adam and Eve, and a lot of other different books. So from my perspective, you chew the meat, you spit out the bones. And that's what I do. And through reading this book, it does answer some questions, and it does elaborate further on some things that both the Bible and Jasher and Jubilees leave out. So first book of Adam and Eve, chapter 6, verses 1 through 6. But Ahiah looked at them, for they had killed themselves, as they were very unhappy. But Ahiah wanted to raise them and comfort them. So then Ahiah sent his word to them so that they could stand and be lifted up. Yasha said to Adam and Eve, you sinned by your own free will until you left the garden in which I had placed you. You sinned by your own free will through your desire for divinity, greatness, and an exalted state such as I have, which is why I deprived you of your bright nature that you had back then and made you leave the garden and come to this land, which is rough and full of trouble. If only you had not sinned against my commandment and had kept my law and had not eaten of the fruit of the tree, which I told you not to approach. In fact, there were better fruit trees in the garden than that one. All right, so we see the Most High's laws mentioned specifically in the time of Adam and Eve in the garden. Next, let's head to the Sabbath, a law that was established long before Moses. Going to Genesis chapter 2, verses 2 through 3. And on the seventh day, Ahiah ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the Sabbath day from all his work which he had made. And Ahiah blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Ahiah created and made. All right, so Genesis was long before the following accounts of the Sabbath in Exodus during the time of Moses. Exodus chapter 16, verse 23. And he said unto them, this is that which the Most High hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Most High. Bake that which ye will bake today, and seethe that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning. Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 through 11. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath or the Shabbat of the Most High thy Elohim. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Most High had made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Most High blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. The Sabbath was restored to Israel even before the 10 Commandments or the rest of the Torah was given, starting in Exodus chapter 20. Next, let's see how offerings or sacrifices were made before Moses as well. Genesis chapter 4, verse 4. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Most High had respect unto Abel and to his offering. Again, Genesis was long before these accounts in Exodus. Exodus chapter 8, verses 25 through 26. And Pharaoh called for Moses and for Aaron and said, Go ye, sacrifice to your Elohim in the land. And Moses said, It is not meet to do so, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to the Most High our Elohim. Lo, shall we sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians before their eyes, and will they not stone us? Let's continue by examining the account of Noah as he was instructed to determine the differences between the different animals on the ark long before Moses again. Genesis chapter 7 and verse 2. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. Okay. Genesis chapter 8, verse 20. And Noah builded an altar unto the Most High, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. Okay. So the question is, how did Noah know which beasts were clean and unclean, which are described in Leviticus chapter 11? Right now, I'm not going to read the whole chapter. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are familiar with it. I'll read a few different verses, but you understand the dietary law, what's clean and what's unclean, is identified in chapter 11 here. And the Most High spoke unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Right? Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divided not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And it goes on and on and on about what's clean and what's not clean. And I'm going to scroll down through this, okay? And I'll highlight what's clean and what's unclean. All right, I want to read the last little bit. All right, let me see. Here we go. It says, For I am the Most High that bringeth you up out of the land of Egypt to be your Elohim. Ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. This is the law of the beasts and of the fowl and of every living creature that moveth in the waters and of every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten. All right, so you see clearly in Leviticus 11, it outlines that. So how did Noah know which beast that was clean and which beast that was unclean? Remember, Adam was given charge to name all of the beasts. All the animals came before Adam, and he was given charge and authority to name them. Okay, and that's going back again to Adam and Eve. Now let's examine tithing before the writings of Moses were given. Genesis chapter 14, verses 18 through 20. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High Elohim. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High Elohim, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High Elohim, which hath delivered thine enemies into thine hand. and he gave him tithes of all. Abraham paid tithes to the priest of the Most High before the instruction in Leviticus chapter 27. And let's go to Leviticus chapter 27, verses 30 through 32. And all the tithe of the land, whether the seed of the land or of the fruit of the tree, is the Most High's. It is holy unto the Most High. And if a man will at all redeem aught of his tithes, he shall add thereto the fifth part thereof. And concerning the tithe of the herd or of the flock, even of whatsoever passes under the rod, the tenth shall be holy unto the Most High. Now let's examine the knowledge of eating unleavened bread before Moses. Genesis 19:3. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. They ate unleavened bread before Leviticus chapter 12, Exodus 12:15 through 20. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread, even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread for the first day until the seventh day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. All right, and it keeps going on as verse 17. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. Verse 18, you see it again. Ye shall eat unleavened bread. 19, no leaven found in your houses. You shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. We see this. Leviticus 23:6. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Most High. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. Genesis 19:1 through 3. And there came two angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat at the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. All right, so we see account upon account of unleavened bread being eaten before you fast forward to when unleavened bread was instructed in the Torah with Moses. Interesting that Lot was eating unleavened bread when he was taken out of a wicked place also. Feast of unleavened bread before Leviticus. Let's briefly examine the keeping of the law, statutes, and commandments before Moses. Genesis 26:5. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. Next, the word used here is Strong's Hebrew 8451, Torah. Abraham kept Torah, for there was a written Torah, a written law of Moses. Abraham kept the law. And you can read it not only in translation or transliteration, you can also look at the context in which it's written. All of it points to the Torah, the instruction of the Most High. There is yet more evidence in the book of Enoch. So let's go to the book of Enoch. Enoch chapter 80 and verse 1. All right. Now bear with me, because we're going to go through 3 different chapters in Enoch. They're all going to build upon one another to bring the whole picture to a whole. All right. So if you don't know about the book of Enoch, Enoch is given a lot of information. He's able to ask questions. He's shown different things. He's given a lot of information. And at the end of this, this is where we are, to try to give you a little bit of backstory. Right. So he's given a lot of information by the angel. And those days, the angel Uriel answered and said to me, Behold, I have showed thee all things, O Enoch, and all things have I revealed to thee. Thou seest the sun, the moon, and those which conduct the stars of heaven, which cause all their operations, seasons, and arrivals to return. Okay, so the angel is saying, okay, Enoch, I've shown you, I've revealed to you all of these things. I'll reveal to you everything, okay? If you go to Enoch 81, read the full chapter. Enoch 81, full chapter, okay? He said, O Enoch, this is still Uriel talking. O Enoch, look on the book which heaven has gradually dropped down. One and reading that which is written in it, understand every part of it. Then I looked on all which was written and understood all, reading the book and everything written in it, all the works of man, and of all the children of flesh upon earth during the generations of the world. Immediately after, I blessed the Most High, the King of glory, who has thus forever formed the whole workmanship of the world. And I glorified the Most High on account of his long suffering and blessing towards the children of the world. At that time I said, blessed is the man who shall die righteous and good, against whom no catalog of crime has been written, and with whom iniquity is not found. So I'm gonna pause right here for a quick second, because this just popped up to me, okay? At that time I said, blessed is the man who shall die righteous. What is righteous? What is righteousness? According to the scriptures, according to the Bible, to be righteous is to be someone who adheres to the Most High's instruction. To be righteous is someone who keeps the law, statutes, and commandments. I'm gonna keep going. Then those three holy ones caused me to approach and place me on the earth before the door of my house. And they said unto me, explain everything to Methuselah, thy son, and inform all thy children that no flesh shall be justified before the Most High, for he is their creator. During 1 year, we will leave thee with thy children until thou shalt again recover thy strength, that thou mayest instruct thy family. Write these things and explain them to all thy children, but in another year they shall take thee from the midst of them, and thy heart shall be strengthened, for the elect shall point out righteousness to the elect. The righteous with the righteous shall rejoice, congratulating each other, but sinners with sinners shall die. And the perverted with the perverted shall be drowned. Those likewise who act righteously shall die on account of the works of man, and shall be gathered together on account of the works of the wicked. In those days they finished conversing with me, and I returned to my fellow men, blessing the Most High of worlds. Now they're basically giving you a foreshadow of what's to come, because Enoch came before Noah. So they were telling him that all of these things are going to happen. And he says, and the perverted with the perverted shall be drowned. This happened, and this was a foreshadow before the flood even occurred, right? But again, righteous is talking about righteousness. The righteous to the elect, okay? So we see these different aspects all pointing to the Torah, all pointing to the law, all pointing to being righteous, holy, following the law, statutes, and commandments, right? But this isn't it. Enoch, chapter 82, verses 1 through 4, right? And we see that Enoch follows the instruction that he was given by the angel Uriel to pass on this knowledge, to pass on this way of life, to pass on this information that's so vital, so vital that he was instructed to do so. And he says, and now, my son Methuselah, all these I am recounting to thee and writing down for thee. And this has an exclamation point, okay? I didn't add that exclamation point. So you know it's important, right? And I have revealed to thee everything and given thee books concerning all these. So preserve, my son Methuselah, the books from thy father's hand. He's telling him to hold on to it and keep good care of it, because these are important, right? So preserve, my son Methuselah, the books from thy father's hand, and see that thou deliver them to the generations of the world. To give them to the generations of the world. What does that sound like? Let me quickly. I know this is off topic, but this reminds me of Exodus 3. Do 14 through 16. Okay, so in the highest said unto Moses, I am that I am. Okay, all right. Verse 15. All right. And the highest said, moreover unto Moses, thus shalt thou say to the children of Israel, the most high Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob hath sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations, right? Unto all generations. It says that thou deliver them to the generations of the world. Same premise here, okay? Same premise, to pass this information to the next generation, on and on and on and so forth. Verse 2, I have given wisdom to thee and to thy children, and thy children that shall be to thee. So he's foreshadowing you. I'm giving information to you, and I'm giving information to your children and the children after that, that they may give it to their children for generations. This wisdom, namely, that passeth their thought, and those who understand it shall not sleep, but shall listen with the ear, that they may learn this wisdom, and it shall please those that eat thereof better than good food. Better than good food. Blessed are all the righteous. Blessed are all those who walk in the way of righteousness and sin not as the sinners in the reckoning of all their days. We see this information, this so valuable information being passed down. And we see the word sin being mentioned again. We know that sin is a transgression of the law. We know that before Moses, even in just the 66 books, if you're reading from Genesis throughout, even before Moses, there seemed to be an implied straight way of life that these people were adhering to. They weren't just wild and lawless and crazy, and then Moses came with the law and then everybody moved in order. That's not how the scriptures account these events, because righteous and righteousness was both used before the Torah, before Moses gave that to Israel, right? Walk in the way, all of these different things, they point to the instructions of the Most High. All right, so in conclusion, we see clear evidence that signifies that the knowledge of the ways of the Most High were with his people long before Moses was given the 10 Commandments on the stone tablets or wrote the rest of the Torah to be kept. From Adam and Eve to Abel, to Enoch, to Methuselah, to Noah, to Abraham, to Lot, to even Moses himself, there was a consistent way of life. Even more emphasis should be placed on the book of Enoch, as it specifically says to pass down this information to all future generations. This is echoed in the instruction of the Most High throughout the giving of the Torah, right? Throughout the giving of the Torah. So if this information was supposed to be passed down, right? And we know that these members were righteous men. We know Noah was righteous because him and his entire family was allowed to be able to be spared through the flood, right? So we know that these people were righteous. We know Abraham, from the accounts of the Bible, we know that Abraham was righteous. So we know that these men were following the instructions, were following the information that was handed down from generation to generation. And then you get down to Moses, And he was given even more specific information, even more specific instruction from the Most High to be written down and to be given to Israel. It is important to understand this as we continue our studies into the Torah and its importance. Israel broke the Most High's covenant and thus was given the Torah in written form as a way to give them specific instructions. When we disobeyed our parents as kids, apart from the punishment, was a reiteration of the rules to follow correct. Like, for example, your mom or your dad told you clean your room. Simple, right? Clean your room. You know that you need to clean your room. If you don't clean your room, you get grounded, you get a whooping, punishment, whatever they gave in your household, right? But along with that, typically, more times than not, parents will sit you down and explain to you why you receive the punishment or the consequence or the repercussion that you did. And they explain to you why you did that, why you received that. Now, you know you got grounded because you didn't clean your room. I instructed you to clean your room. You know that cleaning your room is now your responsibility, and you failed to meet that responsibility. You failed to meet that expectation. It's the same with Israel. There was always a clearly, and then Moses had even more specific rules that they gave clearly, and they broke those rules. So the Most High said, all right, bam, Moses, hit them with this, since they seem like they can't get their life together. But we were aware of those rules before ever disobeying our parents to begin with. Am I here to say that every single law in the Torah was around before Moses? No, I cannot. As I said earlier, there is a lack of evidence in the book of Genesis's accounts. However, we can see that there were significant laws kept and obeyed before the written instruction was given, i.e., for example, the Sabbath, tithing, sacrifices and offerings, right? Sin itself that's mentioned, just sin itself that's mentioned in all of these different things, right? Maybe some were written on scrolls or some sort of manuscripts that each family passed down to the next generation for their own instruction, or maybe it was all oral. But we do see great righteous men throughout biblical history exemplifying obedience to the Most High long before Moses. The law itself is many things. We know that it is a written code that the Most High passed to Moses for the instruction of Israel. We also know from Paul's accounts in Romans chapter 7 that the law is also spiritual. We know from Jeremiah that the law is to be written on our hearts. But the law is also Hebraic culture. It's a lifestyle. It's a way to navigate through this intricate web we call life. As time progressed, Israel went through many ups and downs, but one thing that has never passed away was the Most High's instruction, the Torah. And it says, Shalom, and thank you for reading and aspire to inspire. So with that said, like I said, I hope this was edifying. I hope that this brought some type of clarification, more so than anything. I hope that this just gave you something to think about, something to consider. I encourage you, take the scriptures that was given today, the commentary, whatever you want to do, take it and go and look on your own. Do your own due diligence, do your own research, come to your own conclusions. I'm not asking you to agree with me, but it is of my understanding that there was Torah, there was the law before Moses ever came to be, before he was born, before he was put in the position to liberate Israel from Egypt and began the Exodus.